All right, let's talk about a heist. But this isn't your typical movie plot with stolen jewels or data breaches. We're diving into a new kind of digital espionage, one where the target isn't just code, it's the very intelligence of a cutting-edge AI. A silent, industrial-scale operation has been underway, siphoning the capabilities from one of the world's most advanced models. And it all starts with this number, 16 million. That's how many illicit exchanges the AI company Anthropic flagged hitting their top model, Claude. Now, this wasn't just some random noise or a few curious developers. No, this was a coordinated, high-volume campaign with a very, very specific goal. And Anthropic didn't mince words. They came right out and publicly identified what they called industrial-scale campaigns. The accusation was simple. Other AI labs were systematically using Claude's power to train their own competing models. It's a technique called distillation, and in this case, it was being used as a weapon. So here's our game plan for this deep dive. First, we'll get a handle on the sheer scale of this AI heist. Then, we'll break down the weapon itself, model distillation. After that, we're opening up the case files on the attackers Anthropic identified. Then, and this is crucial, we'll look at why this is being framed as a national security breach. And finally, we'll see how the digital defenses are being built to stop it. You know, it's really important to understand that this was not just a simple violation of a website's terms of service. According to Anthropic, what they uncovered was a highly sophisticated, coordinated operation. We're talking thousands of fraudulent accounts, all working together to systematically probe and literally suck the intelligence out of a frontier AI system. So how in the world do you actually steal an AI's brainpower? Well, the technique at the heart of this whole thing is something that in any other context is actually perfectly legitimate. It's a standard tool used all across the AI industry. The weapon is called model distillation. The easiest way to think about it is like this. You have a super smart teacher model, like Claude, and a smaller, less developed student model. You give the teacher a question, it spits out a fantastic, high-quality answer. You then take that exact question and answer pair and use it as a lesson to train your student. Now, do that millions of times, and pretty soon, your student model starts to think and talk just like its brilliant teacher. And this really highlights how model distillation is what we call a dual-use technology. It has two sides. On the one hand, a company like Anthropic will use it on its own models to create smaller, cheaper, faster versions for specific customers. That's the legitimate use. But the flip side, the illicit use, is what we're talking about today. Stealing from a competitor's model to get a massive shortcut in R&D, potentially saving years of work and, frankly, billions of dollars. Okay, time to open the case files. Anthropic didn't just spot these attacks, they say they were able to attribute them with high confidence to three specific AI labs: DeepSeek, Moonshot AI, and Minimax. So let's dig into the evidence they laid out. And wow, the sheer volume here is it's mind-boggling. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, just look at these numbers. Minimax is the massive outlier here, with over 13 million exchanges. Moonshot AI is next up with a hefty 3.4 million. And even DeepSeek, which looks small in comparison, still represents a huge, coordinated effort at over 150,000 illicit exchanges. So first up in the dossier is DeepSeek. Their operation was laser-focused on some very specific skills. They went after Claude's reasoning capabilities, and they even used it to grade answers, basically turning Claude into a paid tutor for their own AI. But the really fascinating part, the telltale signature, was how they did it. They crafted prompts that would trick Claude into explaining its internal step-by-step logic, what we call chain-of-thought reasoning. They were effectively getting Claude to generate its own high-quality training data for them. Next on the list, Moonshot AI, the company behind the Kini models. Now, their campaign was bigger and, honestly, a lot sneakier. They were targeting Claude's ability to act as an agent, to use tools, write code, and even understand images. And to stay off the radar, they used hundreds of different kinds of fraudulent accounts coming from all sorts of different places, making it way harder for Anthropic's systems to spot the pattern. And that brings us to the biggest operation of them all, Minimax. With a staggering 13 million plus exchanges, their focus was also on these advanced agentic skills. But what really makes them stand out is their speed and agility. Anthropic actually caught this campaign while it was happening. And get this, when Anthropic released a new updated version of Claude, Minimax shifted nearly half of its massive fire hose of traffic to that new model within just 24 hours. They wanted to start siphoning its brand new capabilities immediately. So the big question is, how did they pull this off? especially when Claude's API isn't even directly available in China. Well, this is where we get into the full stack of the operation. They use commercial proxy services that run on what Anthropic calls Hydra cluster architectures. Just picture this, a sprawling, decentralized network of fraudulent accounts, in one case, more than 20,000 of them. All this traffic is being funneled through a complex stack of APIs and cloud platforms. You ban one account, and just like a Hydra, another one pops right up to take its place. Okay, so this is where the story pivots and gets a lot bigger than just corporate competition. Anthropic and other security experts are framing this as a genuine national security issue. Because when you steal AI capabilities like this, you kick off a dangerous chain reaction of global risks. Let's just walk through this proliferation pathway. Step 1, the capabilities are stolen using distillation. Now, step 2 is the absolutely critical and terrifying part. The safety systems and ethical guardrails that were painstakingly built into the original model, they don't get transferred over, they're stripped out. So now you have these powerful but unprotected capabilities that can be plugged directly into military or surveillance systems. And from there, the risk just multiplies, especially if these distilled, unsafe models are then open-sourced and spread to anyone, anywhere. And this directly attacks a cornerstone of U.S. technology strategy: export controls on advanced computer chips. See, the whole point of those controls is to slow down AI development by competitors, but distillation attacks create a massive loophole. Why spend years trying to develop a powerful model from scratch with restricted chips when you can just steal the finished product's intelligence from a leading US model? It lets them close the competitive gap in a fraction of the time. So, what can be done about this? What does the defense look like? Well, Anthropic has laid out a pretty clear four-pronged strategy, but they are making one thing crystal clear: no single company can solve this problem on its own. This is going to require a coordinated, industry-wide response.
So their plan breaks down into 4 key parts. First, better detection. You can't stop what you can't see, so they're building systems that can automatically fingerprint the behavior of a distillation attack. Second is intelligence sharing, passing the technical details onto other AI labs and cloud providers so everyone knows what to look for. Third, much stronger access controls, just making it way harder to create thousands of fake accounts in the first place. And finally, building countermeasures directly into the models themselves to make their outputs less useful for this kind of illicit training.
And all of this leaves us with a huge, critical question. It's clear that these frontier AI models aren't just commercial products anymore. They are, for all intents and purposes, geopolitical assets. This whole incident has revealed a brand new front line in the global tech race. And it tells us that the challenge going forward isn't just about building more powerful AI, it's about figuring out how on earth we're going to secure it.